Before time learned to breathe, before light discovered how to shine, there was a silence so absolute that even nothingness had not yet been named. There was no sky to open above, no ground to receive a step, no horizon to promise direction. There was no past to remember and no future to anticipate, and existence had not yet chosen to exist, and reality had not yet agreed to begin. There was only the vast and immeasurable expanse known as Ginnungagap. It was not a place because place requires boundary. And it wasn't darkness because darkness implies the absence of light. It wasn't emptiness because emptiness suggests something once filled. Ginnungagap was a suspension of all possibility, an abyss not of absence, but of waiting. Yet, even within absolute stillness, tension can still gather. To the farthest reach of what would one day be called North, a realm formed of primordial frost took shape. Its breath was cold beyond imagination, its rivers flowing with venomous ice that neither melted nor ceased. This was Niflheim, the domain of chill without mercy, where motion slowed into stillness, and stillness hardened into permanence. To the opposite reach, far beyond the measure of direction, arose Muspelheim, a realm of living flame. Heat pulls through its being like a heartbeat without a body, and sparks leapt and swirled like thoughts searching for form. Fire did not consume there, it created through intensity alone. Between these two forces stretched Ginnungagap, the silent gulf where contradiction approached encounter. For an age without time, nothing happened. Then the first frost began to drift. The frozen breath of Niflheim crept into the abyss, spreading crystalline stillness across the silent void. And from Muspelheim came the answering surge, a radiance of heat pressing outward, restless and seeking release. Where cold met flame, something unprecedented unfolded. Ice began to melt, and heat began to condense. Form began to emerge. From the meeting of opposites came transformation, and from transformation came the first movement of existence. Within the dissolving frost gathered a shape vast and formless. Breath emerged before lungs, and presence before identity. This was Ymir, the primordial giant, not born into a world, but born as the first expression of becoming. He did not open eyes to see creation. He was creation awakening to itself. From his being flowed life in raw and untamed form, and from his sweat came other giants born with elemental force rather than intention. They were existence in its earliest language, power without structure, and motion without purpose. Yet Ymir did not stand alone within the emergent reality. From the melting frost arose another presence, gentle yet essential, a great cosmic cow, Hanya, and from her flowed nourishment, sustaining the first being who had ever existed. She did not create through command, but through sustains. Her milk fed Ymir, and through her act of giving, continuity was established. As Hanya licked the salted ice of the forming world, something hidden began to emerge. From the frozen crust appeared a new being, Dari, ancestors of gods yet unborn. He did not arise from chaos alone, but from revelation, from uncovered through impatience. From Buri came a lineage that would reshape existence from raw force into structured reality. And from that lineage emerged three brothers who would transform potential into order. They looked upon Ymir and saw not an enemy, but a necessity. Creation requires change, and change demands transformation. Transformation at times requires sacrifice. And so, the first act of shaping the cosmos was not an act of construction, but an act of ending. When Ymir fell, the unformed became formed, and from his flesh came the earth, vast, solid, capable of bearing weight. And from his blood came oceans, deep, shifting and reflecting sky yet to exist. And from his bones rose mountains, silent monuments of structure. And from his skull formed the dome of heavens. And from his breath came wind. And from his very own existence came the architecture of reality. What had been an abyss became a world. What had been tension became balance. And what had been silence became order. Yet Ginnungagap did not vanish. It remained, not as a void, but as origin, not as absence, but as foundation. The abyss endured as the memory that all structure arises from uncertainty. The cosmos expanded, yet the primordial gap persisted beneath every form. Stars ignited where once only sparks wandered, and rivers flowed where once only frost drifted, and life emerged where once only potential lingered unexpressed. But the myth does not merely describe a beginning, it describes a principle woven into existence itself. Every creation is born from contrast, and every transformation begins in tension, and every form emerges from formlessness. The abyss is not behind us, it is within us. Before every decision lies uncertainty. Before every idea lies silence. Before every birth lies darkness. The structure of reality mirrors the structure of becoming. This ancient story speaks not of distant realms alone, but of the nature of existence itself. Fire and ice did not simply collide once. Their meeting continues in every process of change, expansion and contraction, motion and rest, and destruction and formation. Balance is not stillness. It is a dynamic, tension sustained. Even time itself reflects the pattern, and it moves forward yet contains memory. It creates future while preserving origin. It is both continuity and change, an echo of that first meeting across the abyss. And so, Ginnungagap is not merely a mythic beginning, it is the eternal condition preceding emergence. The universe did not begin with certainty, it began with possibility. Silence was not emptiness, it was readiness. The abyss was not nothing, it was everything waiting. Within the human experience, the same pattern unfolds. Moments of transformation often arise from spaces that feel empty, uncertain, and undefined. Periods of stillness precede change, and confusion precedes understanding, and loss precedes renewal. The myth does not deny fear of the unknown. It reveals the unknown as necessary. Without the gap, nothing could emerge, and without tension, nothing could transform. Without the meeting of opposites, nothing could become. Even the world that we inhabit carries traces of its origin. Mountains bear the memory of bone, and oceans echo the flow of primordial blood. The sky itself is a relic of a cosmic transformation beyond comprehension. Existence is not separate from its beginning. It is the continuation of that beginning. The abyss endures beneath structure, within structure, and beyond structure. In the vastness of space between stars lies a reflection of Ginnungagap. In the silence between thoughts resides its echo, and in the pause before creation, it waits, patient, infinite, and unchanged. The ancient vision tells us something profound. Order is not the opposite of chaos. Order is chaos, shaped through transformation. And transformation always begins in uncertainty. The story of the abyss is not a story of emptiness. It is a story of emergence. It reminds us that beginnings are rarely loud, rarely visible, and rarely understood in the moment that they occur. Creation begins quietly. It begins in tension. It begins in silence, so deep that meaning has not yet found language. Yet from such silence came the world. And from the memory of that silence arises understanding. That existence is not fragile because it emerged from the void. It is resilient because it emerged from contrasts. The abyss did not oppose creation. It enabled it. Even now, every star shines against darkness, not as defiance, but as continuation of the first transformation. Every life unfolds between forces that shapes it. Every moment of becoming carries within it the echo of fire meeting ice across an infinite gap. Ginnungagap remains the hidden foundation of all beginnings. Before the first breath, there was stillness. Before the first light, there was waiting. And before the first world, there was the abyss. And within that abyss, everything that would ever exist rested in silent potential, not loss, not absence, but poised at the threshold of becoming. The story does not end with creation. It endures wherever possibility precedes form, wherever uncertainty precedes meaning, and wherever silence precedes voice. The abyss is not behind existence, it is woven into it. And in the quiet spaces between what is and what may yet be, Ginnungagap still opens, vast, patient, and eternal, holding within it the endless promise that from the unknown, worlds are born. If this story stirred something inside you, there are many more myths and legends waiting. Tell me in the comment section down below which myth that you want next, or what your opinion is about this myth. Until the next tale, stay curious.